This Manhattan may look like it's a classic, but don't let that fool you. This week, let me show you how to make a smoked peach Manhattan. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Matt, I'm the Whiskey Nerd, and like I said, this week I'm making a smoked peach Manhattan, and this is going to be my entry to the Build Your Own Manhattan 2022 challenge. This challenge being organised by Jesse and Todd over in the Manhattan Project, and you should check them out if you haven't, or if you're interested in Manhattans or learning about one of the world's most classic cocktails. They are on a quest to try out different whiskies and pit them against each other to find the perfect combination for a Manhattan. But before I go any further, I'm going to get the smoke ready for my smoked Manhattan. And I'm going to be looking for a very subtle smoke. So I'm actually not going to be smoking the top of the cocktail. I'm going to be smoking the cocktail mixing glass. Now, if you've ever seen one of these, you know what it is. It's just a wooden chimney with a bit of a grate in there. You put some wood chips into the top, and then you use a lighter or a little blowtorch, and you smoke a cocktail. It's actually very kind of fun, but it does give a very strong bite of smoke to a cocktail because that smoke sits down on top of the cocktail. Some of the particles get there, and it gives you a very, very strong bite of smoke, especially on your first sip. I'm not really looking for that. I'm looking for a more subtle smoke. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to light up that smoke. I'm going to let that sit here just to get some of the particles of smoke on the inside of the glass, and that's going to give me a very subtle smoke when I go to mix my cocktail. So just smoke it up, and you'll see that the smoke goes down into the glass. Just like that. And that's going to sit in there for a couple of minutes while I go through the rest of the ingredients, and that's going to give me a nice but subtle smoky bite to my cocktail. I do have one other kind of special ingredient to make this Manhattan a bit different and a bit more fun. This is a peach brandy aged rye from Koval in Chicago. Now, Koval's rye is fine. It's nothing special. It's a very nice rye, very straight down the middle rye, but this peach brandy aged version of the rye is very, very nice. It kind of adds a nice different dimension. It adds a bit of extra sweetness, but not being so sweet that it takes away from all that rye spice. It's just a nice, very nice whiskey. It comes in at 47% proof, so it does have a nice bit of weight behind it, and it is just a little bit different, a little bit more fun, and it's very good for this challenge. I'll also be using the classic Martini and Rossi Rosso Red Vermouth. It is very nice, very bold, very strong flavored, and I think it does stand up really well to the flavors of the rye and that bit of smoke that's going to come through from that smoky glass. I'm also going to be using classic Angostura bitters and Angostura orange bitters to really add a bit of depth to the cocktail. And of course, I'm going to be garnishing it with a Luxardo maraschino cherry at the end because that's just a very nice flavor, and it does add a touch of extra sweetness and a touch of a different dimension to a cocktail. My perfect Manhattan has to have a maraschino cherry in it. And that's enough talking. It's time to make the cocktail. So as you can see, some of that smoke will have settled down into the glass, so I'm going to pop in my ice cube now. And very simple, it's going to be 2 parts whiskey, 1 part vermouth, and then the bitters in at the end, just to give a very nice, balanced, simple cocktail. So that's going to be 2 ounces of this Koval peach brandy rye, and then 1 ounce of the Martini and Rossi Rosso sweet red vermouth, just because it's a very nice vermouth and it really does stand up well. And then when we're at bitters, very simple, just 2 dashes, 2 of Angostura bitters, and following that up with 1 dash of the Angostura orange bitters in there, like that. And then we're going to stir it down for about 20, maybe 25 seconds until I can feel the outside of the mixing glass get nice and cold. Okay, I think that is nicely chilled, so we're going to get ready to strain it out. We're going to put it into a nice coupe glass, and we're going to get a strainer up top, and we're just going to pour it out. Very nice and simple, just like that. And then, like I said, for a final garnish, we're going to go in with a Luxardo maraschino cherry, just in there. Get a little bit of that marasca syrup, because it does have a nice bit of flavor. And that right there is how you make a smoked peach rye Manhattan. Before I taste this Manhattan, if you want to get in on the challenge, it is very simple. All you have to do is make a Manhattan sometime in the year 2022. It's got to be a classic Manhattan, so it's got to use at least some part of American whiskey, vermouth and bitters, and you can garnish it however you want. The rules for the cocktail are pretty broad because you can actually use any number of vermouths or even any number of whiskies, because you only have to use partly American whiskey. So you could split the base and use part American whiskey, part Irish whiskey, or even a different spirit altogether. So if you make a video, make sure to use the hashtag BYO Manhattan 2022 and we'll check out your videos. Now let's taste this. Cheers. Oh, that's so good. The smoke is there, but on the very back end, as soon as you swallow, it's as if you've got like, I know, really, really lightly peated whiskey, or you're eating something near a campfire. Like the smoke isn't up front. Up front, you get the bitters, you get the vermouth, you get the whiskey. But that smoke is lingering there. It's kind of in the background. It's a very nice, just kind of different edge to the cocktail. If you've used one of those smokers, like for example on an old fashioned, or even on top of a cocktail like this, that gives you a very strong flavor. This is much more subtle, much more kind of to the background. It just adds almost like you're adding a different ingredient rather than adding like a whole new level to the cocktail. And that peach brandy aged rye is so good. I think it might be a distillery exclusive, so it might be hard to get unless you're in Chicago, but it adds such a nice dimension. Like the peachiness is there, it's present, but it's not really it's not really overpowering, it's not really strong. It's almost like, I don't know, like a spicy cobbler that maybe you cooked over a campfire, where you got the bit of the spiciness, you got a bit of that peachiness, you got a bit of the smoke, but then you've also got that vermouth coming through. It's just a really, really well balanced drink. If you can't get the special edition rye, I mean, there are other options available. I think Barrel have a few finished ryes that you might be able to use in a cocktail like this, and there's also other ryes that do have a bit of a fruity character to them. So as long as you use something like that, you can definitely recreate something like this at home. And I think that's all there is to say about this cocktail. Now, I put out whiskey reviews on Wednesdays and cocktail recipes on Fridays, so if you want to see more, make sure you hit subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Sláinte.